So probably one of my most anticipated films of the year has to be Shelby Oaks, and I finally got the chance to watch this movie. So I was actually playing at Fantastic Fest a couple of weeks ago when I was there, but by the end of the festival, completely just out of energy, drained. This was going to be the last movie I watched, and it was at 11 p.m., and I had just done TIFF a couple of weeks ago. So I was 30 movies in 3 weeks, and I was not prepared to watch at 11 p.m., and I said, I'm going to watch this movie until I have the energy to watch it, because I want to give it my full attention, right? So I decided to skip it that day, and ultimately I watched it 2 weeks later, which was a couple of days ago. And Neon, thank you so much for inviting me out. And I will tell you, this is a movie I've been anticipating, like I said at the beginning. So Shelby Oaks has a lot of backstory for me, right? This is a film by a filmmaker who has dreamed to make a feature, myself a filmmaker. This has been so inspiring to see. Biggest Kickstarter project ever, is backed by Mike Flanagan, and is being distributed by Neon. All the stars truly aligned for Chris here to have his directorial debut. So let's talk about Shelby Oaks and what exactly did I think about it. So Shelby Oaks follows Mia, a woman looking for her sister Riley, who vanished years ago, alongside her YouTube co-host and friends of a paranormal investigation channel that they had. And she tries to sort of figure out what happened to her, as the police seem to have given up. So she starts to investigate an abandoned town called Shelby Oaks. And this is where we see things start to really take a dark turn for her. Let's start off with the thing that truly stood out the most for me, and that is the first 30-40 minutes of this film are incredible. I am not exaggerating here when I tell you that Chris really has crafted something so bone-chilling in that first 30-40 minutes that I was just there feeling a sort of shiver down my spine, which doesn't really happen a lot. And the film really builds atmosphere like no other. There is something so beautiful and crafted here in those first 30-40 minutes that I think Chris really showcases he is the real deal. And I really loved it. I did. The film then decides to take a shift and does something interesting in that last part of the movie. Like, let's just get it out of the way. This movie feels like 3 different movies stitched together throughout its runtime. And then the film, like I said, that first third of the film, incredible, hands down, like no notes need to be taken. This was just hands down incredible. Like, if that was a short in itself, that would be amazing itself. The film then decides to take a shift and does this sort of interesting concept where it turns into something else, and I still think that was magical. I really love that sort of perspective shift that happens, and that was great. The film then goes on to become sort of like a found footage sorts. And we've seen it before, right? I think Chris still keeps the atmosphere going in the second part, but it starts to sort of like wither a bit away. And you really start to see it wane a lot. And when we get to the third and culminative act, and this is when the movie truly lost me a lot, where it turns into everything we've already seen for the last 6 years from horror movies. And it's just not great. It doesn't really stick the landing either with the story it's trying to tell. And that's when I was just like, oh, this is what we got in that third act. And you know, I don't know what happened there, but I still think the movie truly is great. For the first act, incredible stuff there. The second act still also is very powerful, and it really hits. I think he does an amazing job with atmosphere in these first 2 acts, but it's just the third act, it just really just falls completely apart for me, and I just couldn't get into it anymore, and I was feeling a bit like it was losing my interest. But I will say Camille Sullivan throughout the whole runtime of the film commands the scenes she's in. Incredible actress, and I really am excited to see her in more things. Chris as well, I think, is very talented as a director. He showcases it a lot throughout this movie. Even that third act has some moments that I really love, the way that he was able to sort of position the scene and really get with his cinematographer to light it in a way that made it interesting. It was more of the story itself that fell apart, and then some certain choices that made it feel a bit too cliche, and been there, done that for me. And I think what made this movie fall apart is that there is so many ideas that Chris is trying to do in that third act. It just doesn't really make sense. It's like, are we doing supernatural? Are we not doing supernatural? It's like, where are we actually headed here? And I like ambiguity in the movie, but it felt like we were just trying to do so many things that maybe Chris Stuckmann has liked over the years, and it just kind of started to fall apart. Whereas I felt the first half of this movie, especially the first act of this movie, had a cohesive and strong point it was trying to get to, and then all of that just completely got lost by the end of the second act, and the third act was like, oh, let's just see where the movie takes us. And I think that's a big mistake that can happen in a lot of films, is when the movie is trying to figure out where to go instead of having a destination in mind, and then it ultimately just feels like it wasn't sort of warranted to get to this conclusion, or that there wasn't anything that was really pushing us to get there. And then when you get there, it just feels very empty. So overall, I enjoyed Shelby Oaks. I think it's worth checking out if you're a fan of Chris Stuckmann. If you're a fan of films like Mungo, definitely worth checking out The Blair Witch Project, all of that. But I will tell you that vibe of those movies definitely goes away when the third act kicks in, and it might leave a sour taste in your mouth. So overall, I'm still excited to see what Chris Stuckmann does next. This is a directorial debut, by the way, and I think it is a very strong directorial debut. I've seen so many directorial debuts throughout the years, and this is definitely one of the strongest, no doubt about it. I don't know if I'm a little bit more disappointed as a huge fan of Chris Stuckmann, or if I was just so hyped for this movie and ultimately my hype sort of died down after it. I'm excited to see whatever he does next. Like I said, for a directorial debut, still pretty good. But let me know your thoughts and your opinions on Shelby Oaks, if you've seen it or not, and are you excited for it? Don't let my review discourage you. A lot of people in the theater really loved it. Very lively crowd we had. A lot of people were jumping. That first act is just beautiful. I cannot wait to watch it again, because I think there's just an amazing craft that went to it. And I truly feel that there is a lot of people that have been giving their reviews or their thoughts on it in a disingenuous way, both sides. I think people really hate Chris Stuckmann, or the idea of YouTubers becoming filmmakers, and they have already decided to hate it from the get-go, and that they're not going to give it a chance even after giving it a chance. And maybe they like something, there's just no way, because they're not going to disrupt what they already made up in their minds, right? And at the same time, on the flip side, you have people that love Chris Stuckmann, maybe met him and think he's a great, genuine, nice person, and they do not want to criticize anything of this movie. And I think at the end of the day, that is more being fake to Chris, because you don't really let somebody grow if they're not able to hear what people think about it. And of course, he doesn't have to listen to me or anybody. I think you're able to sort of get a pulse from the culture and see where you're going with things, and that kind of helps you in the future. So I don't know, I've just been seeing a lot of both sides recently, but that's just my opinion for y'all. Let me know what y'all think. I went into this, I tried to be as neutral as possible. I told y'all I've loved Chris Stuckmann since like 14 years ago, but I still do see the flaws in this film, and I realize where maybe things didn't really click for me. So just want to give you my opinion on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But overall, very excited to talk more movies with you for the spooky season. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.